A 20 anni dal summit di Rio, che bilancio possiamo fare di quel che è successo da allora ad oggi?
The Earth Summit in Rio in 1992 was created with the convergence of new ecological science that was teaching us about how the climate is getting disrupted, that was teaching us about how species are being pushed to extinction, and the convergence of the ecological movement. That power forced the world to wake up, and we got two treaties legally binding, the Convention on Biological Diversity as well as the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. It was necessary that all of these treaties become part of one treaty, the Montreal Protocol on Ozone. All of it become one, and the demand was made at Rio, let us have a UN environmental agency, because all we have is a UN environmental program in Nairobi. The rich countries said, no, there's no money in the world, we can't create a new institution. 3 years later, they create the World Trade Organization, undermining everything in those two treaties. The first thing they undermined was the Convention on Biodiversity, which was supposed to be about the duty to protect diversity. Now you had handed over to the Monsantos of the world the right to own species and wipe them out. So our food base has reduced from 8,000 species of plants to 8 commodities that are traded and 4 that are genetically modified. The globalization of trade, called free trade, which is very unfree trade, ended up creating more fossil fuels, adding food miles, destroying local economies, and the climb in greenhouse gases went up. But not only did you undo the climate treaty, you undid the power of the international community through the UN to act, because now the corporations who had emitted more fossil fuel, used more fossil fuel, emitted more, now were bigger giants than countries. And today, what the free trade structure has given us is corporate rule of the most brutal kind, of the most undemocratic kind. The newly negotiated treaty called TTIP is an example where corporations now want to be called citizens, can have the right to sue governments if they don't hand over the economy. They want to invade into local economies and national economies. There is clauses on procurement. After all, how do systems work? A municipality runs a school. A municipality decides it will feed the children, good, healthy, organic. These kind of free trade treaties say, no, Pepsi should bring junk food. And then they'll reduce the sugar a little bit when we find out how junk food is the source of pushing 2 billion people on the planet to disease. So at one level, free trade has undone all the commitments made under the UN treaties. But in these 20 years, people have become much more aware, both about the planet of which we are a part, and the discussion is so much richer. That time it was about the environment as if something outside. Today it's about the rights of Mother Earth. It's about us being the earth, us being the biodiversity, us being the water. There is no division. That maturing couldn't have happened without the crisis that a globalized corporate economy would have put. The second thing that's happened is, even while the treaties themselves have been weakened, people's actions have become stronger. So everywhere we are now finding examples of how biodiversity produces more food. It was not on the agenda of the Convention on Biological Diversity. I did work very hard to put biosafety on the agenda under 19.3, worked with the governments who became aware there's new biotechnology, let's regulate it. In terms of climate change, all the new work that's being done on how organic farming and local economies can undo the damage. While we demand the end of a fossil fuel age, we also have, at the level of every school, every garden, every home, every community, every farm, solutions that citizens can start initiating. So the possibility of a bottom-up alternative has grown stronger.